My name's Monk Rowe for the Fillius Jazz Archive at Hamilton College. I'm very pleased to have Christian Sands here this evening.
Thank you.
Looking forward to your concert in the beautiful Welland Hall.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
700 seat.
Absolutely beautiful. Sounds fun in there. You know,
Does the sound of a hall affect your song list?
Yes, it does.
How so?
Because it affects not only the song list, but how you play, how you present the music. Because you want to have fun in the space that you're in. So you have a dry space, you might play tunes that kind of fit that mold or fit that type of, it's brightly lit, so you want to do bright songs or something to darken the mood. You kind of got to figure out how to play with the environment that you're in. Yeah.
I had an interesting experience. Midweek, I happened to catch a Nat King Cole documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And near the end, they talked about the song Love, which was a hit for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I found you playing Love on a video for WBGO.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
I do.
Okay.
I do remember.
So the song Love at a medium tempo probably takes about 40 seconds to play.
Mm-hmm.
And you and your trio made it a 9-minute performance.
Oops.
Well, I never lost interest. And
Good.
to me, it was sort of like this master class on how does that happen?
Oh,
How do you take a song, short song, and have you ever had to explain how you do that to someone?
No, I never had to. But if I had to, it's about expression. It's about a journey. It's about starting from point A to point B or point C, D, And how do we get there? We get there through our ideas and the way we want to present the music, but also just the way the music wants to present itself. If you're open to it, the music kind of dictates what it wants to do. So you just have to kind of listen to it as you go. And it'll kind of give, it's strange, I know, but it'll kind of give ideas to you as you play along. So it kind of does it by itself.
You started out with a piano introduction, and at one point, the camera was mostly on you, so that actually caught this thing you did. You were playing along, and you looked up, and your bass player and drummer were over there, and you went like this, near the end of the chorus, and they stopped, which meant they were paying attention, right?
Right.
Which is, yeah.
Luckily.
And then you played some almost stride stuff, and I said, oh, that's another way to stretch out a thing, is take away their sound, bring it back in.
Yeah, it's all about construction. If you take certain things away, it has a different feeling, it has a different intention, it has a different sound. If you don't play and other things happen, it still has something, it still has a certain sound, it still has a certain feeling. So when you play around with that, whether the bass drops out or I drop out or the drums drop out, it's still the song, it's still the form what we're doing, but there's a different sound and color now. Still the same exact thing that we've been doing, but now you're kind of taking pieces apart from it and putting it back together and, placing things different, turning it around, turning it upside down, all that, but it's still the same exact piece. You're just now looking at it or listening to it in a different angle.
And lastly, regarding this performance, when you were playing by yourself, you went up a half step.
Yeah.
And I wondered
so, yeah.
if your compatriots, especially the bass player, did he know you were going to do that?
No, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, this is the recording that we did. I mean, that video was actually just purely just us testing the sound of us. So it wasn't like a pre-thought piece that we were going to play for the show. We just ended up, it was just in the car while we were driving there. And so I was like, well, let's just play it.
Nice.
It's just something to warm us up, set us up. So with that modulation there, no, he wasn't aware of it, but he's a great bass player, so when he hears that little movement, he knows exactly what to do.
Well, do you think in G flat or F sharp?
Either or.
Didn't seem to phase you at all.
Yeah.
That's a lot of black keys.
I like it, you know. I mean, it is what it is, you know. It's whether it's you think of it as G flat or F sharp or you know E double sharp.
Right.
You know, it's all about the feeling. It's all about the emotion and how you present the music. So it's all about that. So I usually don't think of keys as keys. I usually think of them as gestures and feelings. And you know, this feeling, G flat or F sharp now is a brighter feeling than what I had before. You know, F is this happy feeling, this type of mode that we're in, you know, this type of feeling, and now we raise it, now we're just getting brighter, now we're getting more alert, now we're getting, you know, so that's kind of how I think about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
L-O-V-E.
Exactly.
G flat.
Exactly.
I see that you're a composer.
Mm-hmm.
You can go from playing a Nat King Cole, a standard, into your very adventurous compositions.
Mm-hmm.
What inspires you to write?
Man, that's tough because it's so many different things. It's not like one answer for that, you know. I write all the time, and I write, you know, again, depending on moods, depending on emotion, depending on who I'm talking to. You know, my inspiration comes from everything, from people, from stories, from, you know, watching certain movies, or, you know, hearing certain soundtracks, or hearing certain songs, or hearing certain, you know, sounds, you know, out in the world. You know, like you hear a dog bark or something like that, you'd be like, man, that actually sounds really cool with the siren in the background. So let's figure that out, you know, and that turns into something, you know. So I'm always influenced by just the world and what's happens, you know.
How do you know when a tune is done?
It never is, you know. I always feel like it never ever is. You know, it's done for the day. But you know, I mean, like everything, you know, everything I've recorded, you know, there's always you record it, and it's like cool, but then the next time you play it, it's a totally different thing. So each time you record something, it's like a totally different song. So then you have to pick which one you like, which is always the tough part. You know.
Free Fall.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by that song. First of all, I'm wondering
What is it about?
where in the process. Well, that's sort of my question.
Yeah.
When did the title come?
Well, you know, it's actually funny enough. You're the only person that's ever asked me about that song, by the way. You know.
Well,
Thank you.
there's something I want to specifically ask you about.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, you know, it came from a breakup. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it came from breaking up with this girl that I was in love with, and it came from a dream. The entire song actually unfolded in like this dream of. I won't tell you the entire dream, but really, it was the idea of trying to reach somebody without knowing who they are. They're this person that exists, and you try to bring them into your world and bring them into something that you think is fascinating and you think is nice. But then, once you try to do that, you can't. You can't attain that person. You can't hold on to that person. That person kind of just scatters all over the place, and then they disappear, you know, and then you're left wondering what happened. Did I do something right? Did I do something wrong? It's a very contemplative type of song, and that's what the whole thing was when it was going on. So that's what the song is about. That's what Free Fall is all about.
nice.
Yeah.
You got this little piano vamp up front,
Mhm.
right? And I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the best I could do was, I sketched this, you know, two measures thing there. I don't know if it was an F sharp in the bass or something.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd pass melodic or chordal dictation on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But that set sort of a harmony for me in my ears. And then this melody comes in. And where did that come from? I mean, it sounds like it's in a different key.
Right.
And
Well, the whole reasoning of that was in the dream, you know, to set it up. In the dream, it was just me, you know, dreaming, and it's me, and it's dark. And so there's no floor, no ceiling, no sides, no walls, anything like that. So that's where the ambiguous, is it an F sharp, is it not an F sharp, comes from. And then the line appears, and the line kind of appears out of nowhere, where the figure appears out of nowhere. You know, I know it's a whole method to this whole thing. You know, but there's still no walls, no ceilings, so there's still no bass. There's still no set time necessarily.
I'm glad you said that,
Everything is
'cause I couldn't
really
find-
just kind of, you know, spacey and open, and then as the dream goes on, you know, more structure starts to form and everything starts to form just like the dream did, and then it finally at the end, the thing disappears, the apparition or whatever you want to call it disappears, and so does the rest of the time, and so the rest of the bass, and you know, now there's just me again. You know, that's what the whole thing's about.
Free falling.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
And lastly, that I really liked that because I think you had either a sax or bass clarinet,
Mhm.
something double
Both.
with the string
Yeah.
bass.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
orchestration's a big part of
Yeah.
pulling this.
Well,
stuff off.
I like, especially with Marcus Strickland. I'm just a big fan of his music and his work and the way he plays his instrument. But also, he's an amazing doubler. You know, and he plays almost all the woodwinds too. So, but he's such a master at bass clarinet. You know, and it was something that he was starting to do more of. And so when we were playing together, it's like, man, bring your clarinet. You know, because it has such a nice woody. Warm, earthy tone to it, you know, especially the way he plays it, you know, and that combination with him playing the tenor and then Yasushi playing bass, you know, kind of has this certain earth tone to it, this certain grounding to it, but still has this really ambiguous sound of like, what is it exactly, you know? So that's why I kind of wanted to combine all those together.
Nice.
Yeah.
You did music college.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Manhattan you went to?
Yep, Manhattan School of Music.
Is that pretty much the only way for young musicians now to take the jazz path?
No, I won't say that's the only way, but it is a good way to meet other musicians and to form these connections with people that are around your same age. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, if I didn't go to college or Manhattan School of Music or a conservatory, would I still be in the position I am today? I'm sure I would be, but I think I would have had a lonelier time getting there versus now. Now I have colleagues, now I have people that I graduated with that we play music together. Mm-hmm. Or I see them in other bands around, you know, as we're on the road and we get to finally catch up. And so it's this nice community that you have, that, you know, the people you graduate with or the people you go to school with that are either ahead of you or behind you. You know, like I went to school with Ambrose Akinmusiri, I went to school with Linda O, I went to school with Sam Harris, Fabian Almazan. You know, the list goes on and on of the people that I was underneath, you know. And so it was great when I got to school and see those people working and those people in bands like Terrence Blanchard's band or, you know, or playing with Christian McBride or playing with, you know, Ravi Coltrane, you know, and going to see them in New York and knowing that I can also see them in the lunchroom, which is really cool, and talk to them about the gig, you know, and bug them for me being the freshman. Exactly. But you know, schooling is such an important part of the development of the music, but also just the development of you as a person, you know, and getting to know those connections of people that, you know, you go to class with and you have these friends or you have these people that you heard about, you know, like when I was in school, I also met Jonathan Baptiste. We were in school at the same time. And so we met in a practice room at Manhattan School of Music. That was the first time we met, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So you don't really get that if you don't go to school, you know. But not to say that you won't ever meet another musician, you know. But there is a certain thing that comes with going to schools and learning and being in classes and being around other people that are also very creative. And then you never know what happens.
How do you learn to sort of take care of the bandstand, to present a concert, because there's more to it than just what you play?
I mean, it's a lot of studying. You know, I mean, I believe that anyway. You know, everyone is different. But for me, I like to study the greats. I like to study the people that I admire. You know, like when you watch Miles Davis, it's like, what do I like about that? Besides the playing part, besides everybody in the band that's playing, but also when you watch these videos, it's like, okay, how does he direct the band? How does he present the music? Even though his back is turned sometimes, you know, like how does that even work? you know, or you watch videos of Thelonious Monk and then he dances, you know, like why does he do that? What does that do to the audience? What does that do to the band? You watch Chris Bodie and how he presents music and what happens. Or, I mean, not even jazz musicians. I mean, you know, you go to, like I went to Beyonce and Jay-Z concert the other day, and it was just like, I mean, amazing. You know, and not only because of the pyrotechnics and the staging and all that, I mean, because that is incredible. It does give an amazing impression on you, but also how does that tie in with the talent that they all have? You know, the talent of the band that you see actually on stage, you know, what they're doing, you know, when they do it, you know, what is the wardrobe that they have on? What's the lighting that is there that presents this certain mood and atmosphere to present that song? You know, what goes with what? So there's a lot of things that, you know, I watch and I study to make sure that, you know, this trio that I have, or solo piano or whatever it is presented correctly, you know.
Do you have a drummer list, bass player list?
Yeah.
And you line up gigs and you
Yeah.
tour and you've got to figure out who's available?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have your main guys that you always use, you know, and then you have the guys that if they're not available, who also is not even also is a substitute because they also are equally as good. It's just, you know, you have your people that you know that you don't have to rehearse with, that they just know the music, and then, you know, it's less work for you to do on that side of it, you know. So those are the guys. And then you have the ones that like, okay, if we do like one rehearsal, they'll be fine, you know, cool. And then you have the guys like, okay, if we do 2 rehearsals, that will be fine. And then, you know, just keep going and going and going, you know. But yeah, there's always a set of people that you kind of have, but then you also learn about other people. You learn about new people, and then you kind of try to figure out, okay, where can I put this now? Because I really want to play with this person now. But now this person is used to me calling them all the time. So how do we do that? You know, when do we do that? Or just call them both. You know, and now you just have a double trio or something like that, you know. You know, options.
What would cause you to not call somebody back that, even though they might be a really good player, is there anything that sort of irks you?
If they're just not professional, you know? Like if anyone is just unprofessional or, you know, just not a nice person. You know, I mean, you'd be surprised as, you know, you can be the most talented person in the world, but if no one likes you, they won't call you, you know. Like if you're not easy to work with or it's always a thing, then it's not going to work out, you know. And you can be like the 5th most talented person in the room or so. And if you're easy to work and you come correct and you come with all your, you know, your music ready and like, you know, everything's in place and professional, you'll get so many more gigs like that, you know. And then you'll also learn on the bandstand and be better and better and better and better and better. So, you know, that's kind of how I see it.
Nice. Jerry Allen was important in your career. What did you learn from her?
Ooh, what didn't I learn? She was just a beautiful person, man. A beautiful spirit and an amazing, I mean, you know, an amazing pianist and composer and everything. Amazing mother. You know, I got to spend a lot of time with her and her kids. And, you know, I just learned how to be a warm person, you know, and how to present music and actually how to study music. Her and Wynton Marsalis actually taught me how to really study music. And, you know, prepare for things and prepare for concerts and prepare for, you know, just musical life ahead of me. You know, when I'm asked to do musical, to be a musical director, or I'm asked to write arrangements of things, you know, don't just do it with education behind it. Do it with study. Do it with, you know, information behind it. Don't just, oh yeah, I'm talented and I can do that, but also combine that with what you learn and what you study, you know. So both of them were really impactful of how I go about music.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you took over from her with the Errol Garner project?
I did, which is a lot of fun. Going deep into archives and finding new things. You know, we've found a whole bunch of new things that haven't existed before. So trying to figure out what to do with those things at the moment. But it's a lot of really, really, really exciting things. Yeah.
I found a YouTube comment
Oh.
on the YouTube. I wanted to see what you think of this.
Okay.
It was in regarding a thing you did on yesterday.
Oh, okay.
The Paul
You should have
McCartney
one of
song.
the students read it.
I should.
You should. That way it sounds more like a millennial kind of.
Okay. Come up here. So this is a YouTube comment on your performance on yesterday.
All right. Be easy on me too, man.
Okay, so
And
an unintentional, I expect, touch of Errol Gardner at the start, except that Christian's left hand was on the beat, not a fraction behind, as in Gardner's case. Should he have approached this McCartney evergreen? Excellent rendition, Christian. Keep on, keep it on.
Okay, cool. It's worried for a minute.
no, it was a compliment.
Yeah.
But I like the thing he said about.
Dizzy's.
Right.
The show from Dizzy's was on the live stream webcast.
Yeah.
It was dynamite.
Thank you.
But apparently he thinks that Errol would have played a little more behind the beat.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know,
Yeah.
but that's the difference because I'm not him.
Yeah.
But you know, Errol has influenced all of piano, you know, purposely and also accidentally. Because there's a lot of pianists that I'm sure that they don't even think about him when they play, but he's in there, you know, just out of just functionality of how he used the piano. I mean, everything he did made so much sense to do. You know, how to play piano, how to play jazz piano. He's one of the masters of how to actually play it. You know, how to shape music, how to be free within the form, and you know, how to cue things. And I mean, everything he did really, you know, when you really look at it, it's really incredible.
Can you expand on that a little bit? How to be free within the form?
Yeah.
What's the first step of being free?
Well, I mean, you know, it depends on who you are, you know, because being free for another musician might be just playing the changes and playing them all perfectly, and that's free. You know, that is wonderful. You know, it depends on who you are. You know, for me, being free within the form, you know, I actually haven't figured out how to say it yet. You know, because I do it, but I haven't figured out actually how to harness it. You know, because it's something that I'm always. It's something that I think we're all trying to figure out exactly how we want to play the music. You know, whether it's listening to Herbie Hancock and how he plays music and how he plays form and where he places things. I mean, whether it's rhythm, harmony, melody. I mean, you know, it all depends. Everybody has a different way of doing it.
Well, I think that's sort of the magic of the music, is
Yeah.
that you can do it, but not necessarily put into words what.
Yeah,
just
it's
happened.
hard to do. You know, it's hard to say. You know, it's kind of like asking a painter. You know, well, how do you paint? You know, there's a method, sure, but then after that, you know, how does Picasso do what Picasso does? I don't know. You know, I appreciate it though.
Yeah. If I could land some kind of grant from some office at Hamilton College, and I could commission you to write a new suite, where would you start?
Well, I'd probably have to spend some time here, you know, first, because I don't know anything about it.
Think we could arrange for that?
Yeah, you know, spend a little bit of time in here, and then after that, you know, spend some time with the students, spend some time with the faculty, spend some time on the grounds, you know, spend some time eating the food here, you know, and really get the experience of what it is to be here, you know, and then you begin to write, then you begin to shape, you know, what it is you want the suite to be, you know, because the suite should represent what it is about. You know, and so I need to know everything there is to know about the school.
Do you feel like you have I'm not sure how to say this, a vocabulary for your own composing that if you sit down and you do this, it's going to give me an emotion or some kind of feeling?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we all do, you know. And it's just the more you live, the more experience you have, the wider that vocabulary becomes. you know. It starts off, I mean, I think everybody starts off pretty similarly, you know, with root voicings and you know, and scales and, you know, those type of things. And then you kind of branch off as you experience life. You kind of approach them differently and you put them in different situations because you've been in different situations, you know. I think they all reflect who you are as a person, you know. And whether your vocabulary is highly extensive and, you know, you just have vocab of the yin yang, or you just have a little bit of phrases that you know. I mean, I think all of those things are important, no matter what it is, no matter how vast it is or not. You know, it really tells you who you are as a person. You know, and sometimes it scares you because it's really honest. You know, it's something that really keeps you honest. So you have to be humble enough to know that, okay, I am here, but I want to know more, or I'm here and I'm comfortable being here, and that's it for me. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about people that you might have on the bandstand that might do something to irk you. And I wonder if on your way up playing lots of gigs, if a leader ever said, Christian, don't do that.
Yeah, always.
What would they say? What would you have done to?
Oh man, number of things. You know, whether it's you know, I mean, I've been playing since I was a kid, so there's a lot of those moments where you are, you know, when you know who the band leader, you know, there's this respect given to the band leader, but you have to know about it. You have to learn about those things, you know. So when you're a child and you like to just play all the time, you know, it's like, yeah, cool. When you do like 8 choruses when you're really only supposed to do 1, you know, sometimes that can happen. And someone's like, no, don't do that. Just do 1 chorus or 2, because then so-and-so can't get their choruses in, you know, or we want that song to be short. Okay, let's do a short tune. All right, cool. And you do a piano intro, and the piano intro is like 5 minutes long. That's not cool either, you know. So it depends, you know, it teaches you how to be a musician, you know, being in other people's bands. It really teaches you how to present the music, you know, like being in Christian McBride's band. He really taught me his way of presenting music and what he wanted and you know, what he was expecting and what he would like to listen to, you know. And so when you're in tune with that, you know, you do things. And there was sometimes, you know, where I would play something and he'd be like, never know, but you know, next tune. You know, or do this, like save that. Like we'll figure out how to implement that, you know.
Sometimes it's the hand motion or the look.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the look, sometimes it's the words, sometimes it's hand motions, you know. So, but you know, it's never been physical.
Good, it's good.
You know, no, but it's always been fun. You know, everyone I've been, everyone's band that I've been in has always been a learning experience and always been positive. You know, nothing crazy was ever really said of like, oh my God, don't do this, you know, this whole thing. I've been lucky, I think.
Well, you've got a concert to get ready. I think I have time for maybe one question
Yeah, one question.
from the audience.
Ooh,
Anybody got
that
one?
was good.
If so, speak
No
up.
questions?
Good one.
Nobody has a question?
Did you see Benny Green's Facebook essay on working with Freddie Hubbard? Freddie Hubbard telling him, Leo.
Oh yeah,
Did you see that?
I did. Well, I've spoken to Benny about those times, you know, and well, him and Christian McBride and Carl Allen, and you know, and just being in the band with Freddie Hubbard and what Freddie expected, you know, and funny enough, a lot of what they do, some of that stems from being in Freddie's band, you know, the way they present the music, the way they play the music, you know. If you've ever noticed, they never, well, I won't say never, but pretty much most of the time, they usually, when they play a tune, it's always like right on it, you know. They never kind of like search into the tune, you know. And Freddie didn't really do that either, you know. So it's really interesting the way they all play, you know. It's actually a stylistic thing, you know, so it's really cool. Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
Very
Thank you for
informative.
having me.
And, well, I'll look forward to your gig.
Thank you.